Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a topic that, let's be real, anyone managing a large property knows all too well, but nobody actually wants to talk about until things go sideways. Yep, we're talking about plumbing. Because honestly, nothing strikes fear into your heart quite like a 2 a.m. emergency call about water being somewhere it absolutely shouldn't be. Specifically, we're looking at a highly structured methodology for handling the complex world of multi-unit properties, and we're drawing this directly from the procedures used by Dr. Drain. If you're looking to figure out how the pros efficiently manage systemic building maintenance without, completely losing their minds, well, you're in the right place.
So, what turns a simple clog into a property manager's absolute worst nightmare? 2 words: cascade effect. We are talking about the immense stress of managing cascading plumbing failures, a literal avalanche of tenant complaints, severe compliance risks, and those incredibly costly middle-of-the-night dispatch fees. When a drain issue escalates in a multi-unit building, it almost never stays confined to just one unit. It spreads like wildfire and rapidly becomes a massive, building-wide operational crisis.
Okay, let's dive into this. Think about a standard drain issue in a single-family home. It's usually an isolated pipe, right? A relatively simple fix, maybe a quick plunge or a basic snaking, and you're pretty much done. But a multi-unit drain issue, that is an entirely different beast. You're dealing with a deeply interconnected web of multiple lines, shared infrastructure, and varying access points that are scattered across different floors and locked apartments. Treating these 2 scenarios exactly the same is just a recipe for disaster.
So here is our roadmap for today to guide you through Dr. Drain's diagnostic first approach. First, we'll look at the multi-unit plumbing headache. Second, structured intake action plans. Third, targeted diagnostic camera inspections. Fourth, minimizing tenant disruption. Fifth, repair and flow restoration. And finally, clear documentation for managers.
All right, starting off with Section 1, the multi-unit plumbing headache. It's amazing how fast ignored slow drains, recurring clogs, or even just foul odors in common areas can escalate into severe compliance risks.
Moving right along to Section 2, Structured Intake Action Plans. This is where we translate that initial emergency call into a structured, actionable treatment plan.
So how do the experts actually handle it when that panicked call finally comes in? Well, the very first step isn't grabbing a wrench or sprinting down to the basement. It's about translating that chaotic emergency into a highly actionable plan before anyone even steps foot on the property. Step 1 is recording the exact symptoms. Are we dealing with a few slow drains, or are there active, destructive backups? Step 2 is gathering key details, like the specific affected locations, the timeline of the issue, and the recent maintenance history. And Step 3 is formulating a targeted first response. Sending a technician with a basic snake to what is actually a collapsed main line that wastes time, ruins budgets, and can honestly cause more damage to the units. Getting these details up front ensures the response is totally precise, completely eliminating that expensive trial and error approach.
Now for Section 3, Targeted Diagnostic Camera Inspections. This is all about making that critical shift from just guessing to actually knowing what's going on in your shared infrastructure.
Once the team is on site, this methodology requires a major shift in plumbing philosophy. We have to move away from guessing what might be wrong behind the drywall to actually knowing exactly what's happening deep within the shared lines. A targeted camera inspection is this amazing diagnostic method of using video technology inside shared lines to locate the exact source of a plumbing issue without any of the guesswork. And why does this matter to your bottom line? Because it takes incredibly complex, hidden findings and translates them into plain language with clear visual evidence. Property managers aren't plumbers, right? But with this technology, you can see the issue firsthand and make rapid, highly informed financial decisions. It's a real game changer.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the list of hidden culprits you uncover when you send a diagnostic camera down these shared lines. These are things a standard plunger or some off-the-shelf chemical cleaner could literally never fix. We are talking about massive tree root intrusions just crushing pipes, stubborn blockages localized in super specific and hard-to-reach sections, entirely collapsed lines, recurring grease buildup from dozens of kitchens, and hidden debris traps. These are deep, systemic issues. The camera reveals the true story so the problem can actually be fixed for real, rather than just temporarily bypassed.
Next up is Section 4, Minimizing Tenant Disruption. In multi-tenant environments, the actual physical repair is really only half the battle. On-site coordination is just as crucial.
You see, when you're dealing with high-traffic zones like common restrooms, laundry spaces, shared plumbing stacks, and of course, occupied individual units, careful on-site coordination and clear communication are just as critical as turning the wrench. Technicians really have to prioritize their routes. They need to confirm exactly which areas need to be opened up, figure out who needs to be notified in advance, and set very clear expectations for the residents. This kind of strategic coordination is absolutely crucial to ensure the building keeps functioning and the downtime remains strictly contained, safe, and totally respectful to the folks living there.
Moving on to Section 5, Repair and Flow Restoration. Post-diagnosis, the goal shifts heavily from temporary relief to restoring true flow and stopping repeat incidents.
Once the area is secured, the whole mission changes. It's no longer just about providing a temporary band-aid, it's about restoring true flow and preventing these exact same frustrating incidents from rearing their heads again next month. The philosophy here is straightforward. Restore flow today, tackle underlying causes for tomorrow. Repairs in a multi-unit setting really have to go beyond just clearing an immediate obstruction. They must address the root of the problem. That might mean dealing with improper tenant disposal habits, like flushing non-degradable materials down the toilet, or it could be the systemic deterioration of older pipes. Actually, think of it this way. If you just clear a blockage but totally ignore the fact that the line itself is slowly collapsing, well, the problem simply isn't solved, is it?
And finally, Section 6, Clear Documentation for Managers. This is the highly essential final step that property managers absolutely need for their internal records and insurance claims.
So the job isn't truly finished when the water drains. It's finished when the paperwork is clear. And this brilliantly illustrates what a proper, transparent report should look like, broken down into 3 distinct areas. First up, a plain language diagnosis of exactly what was found. Second, the specific work performed to resolve the issue. And third, future monitoring and suggested timing. This level of documentation is huge. It allows property managers to plan proactive maintenance and budget effectively, rather than just sitting around dreading the next massive emergency.
Ultimately, the whole shebang boils down to this one simple idea: protect the tenant experience while keeping building plumbing systems reliable. That right there is the true value proposition of adopting this diagnostic-first coordinated approach from Dr. Drain. It keeps your renters happy, it protects your incredibly valuable building infrastructure, and it ensures your operations just keep running smoothly without any catastrophic interruptions.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to strongly consider. Are your building's plumbing emergencies treated with a bunch of trial and error, or a true diagnostic-first strategy? Take a second to honestly evaluate your own property's preparedness. Upgrading your approach to how you handle complex shared infrastructure could literally save you an enormous amount of time, money, and those dreaded 2 a.m. stress spikes. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.